Dear EA, I know that you guys over there have nothing better to do than watch my fantastic, high quality, not at all scatterbrained and not at all sloppy YouTube videos, and thus, I give you this. In a time in which there are far too many unnecessary remasters, I present to you an idea that will make you millions, if not even billions, guaranteed. Dragon Age Origins is a game that one of your studios, Bioware? Never heard of him. Made back in 2009. Dragon Age Origins' 10th birthday is coming soon, in like 2 years. So that gives you plenty of time to develop and a fantastic reason to actually remaster the game, rather than these weirdo remasters that are just an excuse to upgrade a game from the previous generation to the new one. And apparently some heathen from your company has gone on record saying that you won't do any remasters. Peter Moore, more like Peter Snore. Am I right? Am I right, people? Am I right?
And I didn't feel...
It is a fun song!
And I didn't feel...
Yeah,
Okay, he has left the company and apparently is the CEO for a football team. So he's not in charge anymore. Let's roll with this. Made back in 2009, this is a fantastic game, a sort of spiritual successor to Bioware's previous project, Baldur's Gate. Now, to be honest here, did this game push the boundaries of RPG? Not really. It's just a sort of an evolution of a top-down RPG into a third-person one. It's a beautiful love child between Mass Effect and Baldur's Gate. For real though. This game is one of my favorites of all time. It's up there with BioShock and The Last of Us. I played this game to completion probably 9 times now. Not only has every playthrough been completely unique, but even after playing this game for almost 10 years, I'm still finding new stuff. This game is massive. The story is freaking amazing, and that's counting in the fact that most people that play this game start the game with a unique origin. There are up to 6 different origin stories for the character to play as, depending on the race, the background and class of your character, and all of them are different and unique. And I hear you saying, oh my god, does it even matter how you start the story if the rest of it is the same for everyone? Well, actually, this origin story does reflect some things that you later uncover in the main story. For example, in the major origin story, you meet a character who will have a pretty big part in the main narrative of the actual game. The game gives you that sensation of, oh wow, I actually know who you are and know how you ended up here. It's just a fantastic storytelling mechanic and actually makes you care about the characters that are on display, because any character might come back later in the story as a big part. One of the origins has a character whose story will stretch out to Dragon Age 2 and make more sense if you played that origin story in Dragon Age Origins. But for real though, don't buy Dragon Age 2. It's hot garbage. Goddamn awful. I could go more in depth with the things that I love about this game, but that's not exactly what I want this video to be about. What I want to focus more on is how to remaster this game in a way that it truly deserves. I'll start with the graphics and move on to the other elements of the game later. You guys did Dragon Age Inquisition, and it was pretty good. Definitely a step up from Dragon Age 2, which was, as already mentioned, a garbage fire. I have a few problems with Inquisition, which I'll get to later, but now let's focus on the graphics. Frostbite 4 is a pretty fantastic engine when you get down to brass tacks. Inquisition looked fantastic back in 2014, now that's 3 years ago. Imagine how good a remastered Dragon Age Origins would look if it came out today. To further drive this point, I present to you a game that Bioware is currently developing. Anthem. Now, of course, we've seen time and time again how the performance and graphics of these games are normally boosted just for the E3 presentations, but just please, for this example, use your imagination. Dragon Age Origins with upgraded graphics on Frostbite 4 in itself could be a sellable product and would probably resemble the remasters that Bluepoint has done, for example the Nathan Drake collection and the upcoming Shadow of the Colossus, in which only the graphics are improved and other stuff is left as it is. And I hear you, Origins wasn't on Frostbite 4, so it would literally mean just remaking the game from the ground up. Nonetheless, you've got a shitload of resources, you are EA, right? And if you don't do this, you are literally leaving money at the table. Maybe just skip a freaking NHL game or something, NBA game. Jesus Christ. It's a rare time when I genuinely suggest that a company should take note from Bethesda But that is what's happening now. Imagine how many people have only played Inquisition and thus have only experienced the story of that game. There's a huge chunk of lore and the world building that they've missed because they haven't played the original game. Most likely because the graphics and the gameplay haven't really aged that well. Honestly, just with the graphical upgrade, I would probably rebuy this game, because as much as I love this game, the graphics do not hold up. Even back when this game came out, the graphics weren't that good. The facial animations resemble the level of animation that South Park uses, and the most backdrops of the game are just straight up ugly. Well, okay, maybe it's a bit better than South Park. Playing it now, the graphical quality does unfortunately show just a tad too much. And I know. Dude, there are mods for that, get good. But I highly doubt that most people are up to the task of installing mods and stuff just to play this game. And honestly, I've seen remasters that really didn't even need to be remastered because the original graphics of the game were just fine. Looking at you, Naughty Dog with The Last of Us. In the world of video gaming, games will be remastered if there's profit in it. So stop with the mod arguments. Also, there are of course going to be people that say that graphics don't really matter as long as the game is good. And to those people I say, there's a reason why game graphics improve with time and why it's so jarring to revisit a game like System Shock 2. You do realize that there are people that actually like good graphics and aren't willing to put themselves through 60 hours of looking at janky graphics. But this video is for EA and Bioware, so let's get back to the video. On the side of visual fidelity, character design can be upgraded and maybe sort of redesigned as long as you keep the same appearance on the characters. For example, Liliana looks pretty different in Inquisition compared to Origins. Maybe if Origins was remastered, Liliana would look a little more like how she looks in Inquisition. This would just add to the continuity of the series and enhance the experience and the story. Just hit this, when doing the graphics, maybe don't put the Mass Effect Andromeda team to that task. Jesus fuck, that's terrifying. Dragon Age Origins might just have better facial animation and was released in 2009. But to get the full potential of this remaster, we need to kick things up a notch. Upgrading only the graphics is not enough, we need to go deeper. Let's talk about the narrative of the game. Now Bioware, listen up because this is important. Perhaps the most important part of this essay. Do not by any means change the story. The story here is perfect from beginning to end, so for the love of gods, do not change any of it. Nothing of the main storyline needs revising. To borrow from a famous story of director Miyazaki dealing with a production company for his movie Princess Mononoke, no cuts EA, no cuts. I won't send a katana in the mail because I will most likely get sued. Something that could be fleshed out a bit more would be the DLC and the optional stuff. Of course, not every little piece of random little narrative and dialogue needs to be expanded into a full-length story. I would advise on using some common sense on this one, but stuff like Shell's origin and backstory are pretty weak. A silent little part of me says that maybe the Fate portion of the Mage's Tower storyline should be cut. A normally straight-up RPG game with a party system gets switched out for this Metrovania-like solo experience in which you play alone collecting different forms that give you different abilities, etc. I mean, I'm not saying that the Fade shouldn't be in the game or anything like that. I'm just saying that it's somewhat tedious and monotonous part of the game, which doesn't even pull off the Metroidvania element correctly. I don't get that. Fuck yeah, finally got this ability so I can progress through that previous part. It's more like, thank God, finally, maybe this part is over soon. I just want to hang out with Alistair. As dull as the Fate can be, especially after you've done it before, it does add to the backstory and the motivations of the characters that you brought to the tower. I don't think it should be cut from the game. Maybe just streamline a bit. Honestly, this is probably one of the only parts in the game that I would like changed. As I already mentioned, this game is pretty much perfect. While on the topic of hanging out with Alistair, let's get into characters. Please don't change the voice actors or acting at all. I think this is one of the elements in the game that does genuinely still hold up with the times. Steve Valentine as Alistair is just one of the best performances I have ever heard in a video game. Alistair's dry humor and his tanking abilities were the one thing that made me always keep him on my team. this performance is just that good. Overall, this game has just knockout performances. I don't see that there will be a real good reason to redo any of the voice acting. Maybe just add some dialogue bits to the random NPCs that say something when you click on them. I did play around with the idea of actually giving the Grey Warden a voice this time around, as the protagonist of Inquisition actually had voice acting and would respond to questions the way you chose. I don't think it's really necessary, and I feel like that could really throw a wrench into the wheels of the flow of Origins. This game was never really designed to work with a speaking protagonist, and thus I think it would complicate the game developing a lot. What if the new recorded audio clips of the Grey Warden talking sounded way better than all the other voice acting in the game? It's almost been 10 years since those were recorded, so I don't think it's a necessary risk for the people developing this game to take. The Grey Warden is completely fine in my opinion as a silent protagonist type. It actually gives the player themselves a chance to see themselves as the protagonist of the story, rather than your character being named Hawk or something like that. Dragon Age 2. So earlier I mentioned Inquisition and the fact that I had some problems with it. I think Inquisition's main problem was the fact that they delved too deep into the go fetch me this pupper side of questing. Origins had that too, yes, but I felt like Inquisition went sort of overboard with that concept. Another thing of note was the combat system in Inquisition, which would most likely be the new form of combat in Origins if it was ever remastered from the ground up. The combat of Dragon Age Origins is somewhat of a contested topic, as half of the people say that they enjoyed it and half the people say it was dull and slow. I myself would land on the side of actually liking the combat and enjoying how you can control your party members and pause the game and strategize whenever you like. Compared to Origins, Inquisition was a bit more faster paced overall. I did not like this combat style though, because the whole game it felt like I was only mashing 2 keys until victory, and this problem persisted even when I took on a higher difficulty. At that point, it became more of a problem of leveling up my character for the next upcoming challenge. In Origins, especially on the higher difficulties, it is extremely important to micromanage the members of your party and, in a sense, combo the abilities that you have. For example, use a mage to cast a freezing spell, after which a warrior with a shield can use Shield Bash, which will shatter the target and deal way more damage than any other attack. Inquisition does also have this side, but it's not necessary at all to use it. Seems like a wasted opportunity to me. What I'm trying to get at here is that if this game were to build up from the scratch, Bioware might be inclined to use the combat system of Inquisition, even though I think that the original combat system from Origins is way more suitable and, let's be frank, better for the remaster. Okay, so it's a bit hard to wrap up a video like this. I could go on and on and on with the good and bad ideas that I have, but I really don't want this video to be like 30 minutes. The bottom line here is that Dragon Age Origins is still an RPG worth playing, but with a few upgrades here and there, it could be even better than it is now. The story of Origins is fantastic and should be remastered so that more people can actually experience it. So what do you guys think? Should Dragon Age Origins be remastered even though there are so many unnecessary remasters being made nowadays? Leave a comment down below, and if you agree with me that this game should be remastered, hit that like button, or if you disagree with me, feel free to dislike. Also, tell me what you would like to see in a Origins remaster. I'm sure I missed some stuff as scatterbrained as I am. And with that, thank you guys seriously for watching, and hopefully you enjoyed this essay. I've been trying to get into the habit of writing more essays, and I swear that I'm getting better at it. I swear. Okay, thank you guys. See you in the next one. Bye bye!